Right. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Heba Eldoumi, and I'm your instructor for your nutrition assessment class. And I've had several questions in terms of how to complete the nutrition assessment project. I realize how this project is kind of set up differently, but my goal is always to assure that you have a tool, basically, or something to work off of when you walk off to your field and you start to work in your major. And this is one of them. Because I don't do exams and tests, I do this in the form of a project so that when you're done with this nutrition assessment project, you have a tool, basically a packet that you can take with you when you start, again, working in your field, that you will be able to go back to as a reference. And this is the way I want it to be set up so that you will have it by the end of the semester. So I wanted to kind of walk you through the assignment. Let me go ahead and share my screen and pull up the assignment itself. And if you see, this is the nutritional assessment project. It is a four-part project. It'll help you develop comprehensive assessment, at the same time planning the four different ways that we actually assess an individual when they show up at a clinic, and the steps that we take. And that will be the anthropometric measurements, biomedical, biochemical, clinical, dietary, and environmental, the A, B, C, D, E. I said four, these are the five ways we are steps of assessment. And basically, the way I want you to set it up is to, we're going to, or the project will be built on these projects. So we'll do the anthropometric part assessment for part one. And then part two will be the biochemical and clinical assessment. Part three will be the dietary assessment. And part four will be the environmental social assessment. With those four parts, it'll allow you to have a baseline or a tool to be able to refer to when you start working in your field. And I gave you here at the very end of this assignment links that you can, or reliable resources that you can, that will help you a lot in how to find that data that you need to complete this assignment. And so these are additional resources in addition to the major resource I want you to work off of, which is this link right here. If you click on it, it'll take you to where the other assignment is. So let me share that screen with you um, so that I have that pulled up. Let me make sure to do this correctly. And then I have that link pulled up for you so you can open it. Let me see if I can share that with you. Okay. So this is where you will be looking next. And so this is the major the major site that you'll be working your assignment off of. And again, that's the link on the assignment. This is an article that was put together for nutrition assessment by VAPN. And basically what this is doing is giving you a site of the different assessments, or how you can put together a table of the different assessments that you would need to make a successful nutritional assessment. And the first one, if you look here, A is anthropometric for our ABCDE assessment. And what I want you to do, the way you want to set this up, is to basically use this table, just like they have it here. Obviously, we're going to cite it and reference this page, this article, but then use this table format. So you're going to have the measure, the equation method, and the interpretation of results. Basically, what I'm focusing on is the interpretation of results, because, and also giving you these steps, because when you're in a setting, you want to say, oh, first I need to start with anthropometric measurements. What are they? So you're not going back and Googling things and looking up things in your books. You have a reference right there. And that will be looking, for example, first look at the weight, take the weight and look at the weight change. This is the equation by which you can do it. But then you can also add that not only the equation, but also the method that you need to add to this, which would be taking their measurement, say, for example, on a weight scale. And if you were to look at maybe the conversion of how you would do pounds to kilograms and kilograms to pounds, because there's different settings in different ways, you're going to need that kilogram conversion for your BMI. And so you need to make that change basically up here before you move on to to measuring the body mass index. And so basically what you're doing is putting your notes and everything you would need, and your maybe your assessment or your things that you don't want to forget. Put them on this table so you can go back and have one place to look at, is what the goal of this is. And so you can write weight and percent body weight change, put in this equation, but then find maybe something else. They might be, they might not be. Put them in this note. What I'm really focusing on is the interpretation of results. Yes, I understand with BMI, change in body weight, we have, this is pretty much a set in place, but obviously don't copy and paste it. Put that in form of notes. But you also want to say, for example, here for BMI is we know that it's a good tool. It'll look at your height and weight. That's right. And we know a high BMI or a normal BMI would be 18.5 to 25. Anything above that would be considered to be overweight. All that information we know. But what we don't know, or maybe a note that we need to put to self, or a note that we need to tell our clients or our patients, is that BMI is not the only tool. It's a good tool, but it's not the only tool. For all I know, a table has a height and a weight, and therefore I can calculate a BMI for it. But it doesn't tell me that it's healthy. It doesn't tell me it's health status. And so we need to put a note there saying that it's not the only tool. The tools that need to be put together maybe are skin fold, a CAT scan, an MRI. Maybe we do a DEXA scan. We do different body pods that can be done. So there's different ways of assessing what that mass is coming from, whether it was fat mass, water mass, muscle mass, all these different body components. And so again, as a note here, you can say it's not only built on this. We need to do, say, for example, skin fold. And so I go down here and I get the skin fold, find the information of how you can measure skin fold, maybe the different tools that are used for skin fold. You put anything in there. You can even put little images of what the tools would look like or how the measurement can be done. For example, if you were to take a skin fold from the arm, or if you were to take it from the side, or different, how they can be done. Put that here in the methods. And then what does that mean? And do we need another assessment after this? After the skin fold? Probably yes. Maybe we can do, say, for example, we get high skin fold, we can do a DEXA under this, and it doesn't necessarily have to be here. We can do a CAT scan, for example, if we find that under methods. Another one would be looking at the body, maybe looking at, doing a bod pod. Different ways of assessment. So it doesn't necessarily have to be on this table, but it's really you collecting that information of saying, this should be the step. This should be the next step. Maybe we need to look into this. And that's why I put those resources at the bottom of the assignment, because all those different resources will give you different ways of assessment. And so put them all into one table. So the format would be this, but then put that information all into this one table together. So collect that data in one table, and that's what you'll be turning in. So again, this is giving you the table of how to do and good ideas basically for anthropometric measurements. If you scroll down, you'll see the biochemistry or the biochemic assessment and the different ways. You don't need to do every single one of them. You might find from the other resources that there are other things that you can actually check for. For example, the glycated hemoglobin, or what we know is the A1C. There's more and more research now that's saying it might not be the best tool for assessing for diabetes, for example, and there's reasons for it. So you might want to put the advantages and disadvantages under these tables. What's good about it, what's not. If there's a weakness or a strength to it. If there's a weakness, what would be the next step to make it a little bit of a stronger assessment? Because you want to be able to put your information and put your, kind of your defense of why you said, or you made up a certain assessment for this individual. You want to have all of your backup and your research put together saying check, 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 right? Then you have the clinical assessment. Again, giving you a good idea, go back to those resources as well, collect that data into one table. So you're doing the same kind of table where we're putting the measurement and then the equation or the methods. It doesn't necessarily have to have an equation. It can have a method of assessment or a different tool or a tool of how they assess it. And then what does that mean? What are the strengths and weaknesses of it? What should be the next step that should be taken? All right. So again, environmental, it's giving you the social and physical aspect of it. You can do it in that way because obviously there's not really that much to do in terms of equations. Maybe there might be, there might not, but really there's interpretation of social and physical assessment coming in with that. So hopefully this gives you a good idea of how this assignment should be set up. Basically, think about it. At the end of the semester, you'll print out this data. You'll have a good, tool to use for assessment, and you don't necessarily have to go back when you start working of saying, oh, where are the reliable sites, then put that information all over again. You'll have different pages and just a mess. It'll be in a table set for you. You have your own personal notes that you wrote on there. Look out for this, do this. This will be the next step. This is a good tool. This might not be so well. And you also you'll have strength in when you can also explain it to your client of saying, this is why we need to do this step next, or we might not want to do this because it won't give me enough information. And we might as well do all this at once instead of doing all these different steps. So it comes back to you and how you want to interpret that data. The more you can make it readable for you and set up in a good way. Again, we're going to use that table as our standard. The better off you are, and it won't be a waste of time. You'll have a tool to use later on when you're done with this class. Hope this answers your questions. Feel free to call me or visit my office whenever you want, or email me if you have any questions.